Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
We are the weirdos, mister.
Black as night, erase death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate make it right. I myself am strange and unusual.
Cast a circle, spark some incense, and grab a cup of tea, because it's time for the Cousins Coven podcast. I'm Sharon.
And this is Wendy. Welcome back to the Coven, you guys.
Yay, welcome back. So I read something kind of interesting on mysteriousuniverse.org.
Okay.
And it caught my eye because they're talking about NASA researchers doing something to try to think of a more sustainable product to make buildings out of. I don't know if you saw this article on there.
I think I might have. Tell me what it is, though.
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms, that's right. Shrooms on the moon.
Yes!
Yeah.
And I guess they describe, like, going to the moon, it's really hard because you have to kind of turtle everything on your back and bring everything up with you. So they had to think of what's something that could just grow on its own. And I guess that these type of mushrooms that they're using would be stronger than like reinforced concrete. They would be flame retardant, and then if they are somehow getting damaged or whatever, you can just feed it and somehow it'll like fix itself.
Gosh. Like a SCOBY for what's that drink, the kombucha.
Oh,
like
really?
A SCOBY.
I don't know
does that.
anything about those.
It does sort of remind me of Alice in Wonderland, right? Like wouldn't in the cartoon, didn't they go inside of a mushroom before?
I don't know if they went in a mushroom, but there's
I'm thinking
always...
of Smurfs, maybe.
Yes! No, that's what I was thinking, because like thinking about being on the moon and how cute would all these giant shrooms look, and we'd totally be like Smurfs.
Love it.
So maybe that's not how they would actually grow, but I'm
Right.
thinking they want to go kind of organic and let it do its own thing. I had no idea that a mushroom could be that sturdy.
How do you breathe in there?
Yeah, so it's like, are they hollowing it out?
Yeah,
You know?
interesting.
It is interesting. And what about the repercussions of like living inside of a mushroom?
Right.
What if it just
Right.
starts mind controlling everyone?
Yes. You know, mushrooms give off their own gases.
Yeah.
So maybe they could breathe mushroom gas air.
Seems weird.
Interesting.
I guess that's why they have NASA researchers trying to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What about did you read something?
I read something hilarious.
Okay, cool.
I mean, I guess it's not hilarious. I guess maybe it was hilarious to me. How about that? So, I'm just going to bring up this article. It's from the Bangkok Post. There is this town, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, but there is a town in Bangkok. And 13 people have died in the past 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Right? Hilarious. What?
I'm sorry. No.
Hilarious is coming.
They believe the reason why is because this ghost is killing these people.
Why would they blame a ghost on death?
They think that the circumstances... Oh.
Sorry,
It's
my chair.
They think the circumstances are strange. So all 13 of these people were between the ages of 17 and 60. They were all in great health. There was no reason for them to die. There's nothing going on in the town biologically that could have killed them. They're healthy people just found face down in their homes with no apparent cause of death. And so they believe it to be this ghost who was a widow and she only kills men. And so they think to ward her off that they can put red shirts or red jackets or something on the fence post outside their house or somehow attached to their house because it will scare her away.
Like a little scarecrow?
Yeah. And so that's the part that I found funny.
Gotcha.
It was like, okay, so they think that she's not going to come there.
If they see a red jacket.
Right. And so I think that the red jacket has to do with something in their society, and I didn't take time to look that up, but I believe that that's an old wives' tale thing for them, that years ago that they thought the color red would ward off spirits.
Right, exactly. And it makes sense in Bangkok, because I feel like there is a lot of folklore about ghosts, you know, and the belief in ghosts, and that it's like there's all these different type of ghosts that will approach you, and depending on your reaction, they might hurt you or leave you be. So I've definitely heard a lot of folk tales about that kind of stuff. And it seems like it gets passed down through the generations kind of as something to scare people.
Right.
Maybe they do believe in it and take it seriously, and that's why it's getting brought up as like a plausible cause for all these deaths.
It's just kind of, can't believe that 13 people have died in 3 months and they immediately go to ghost and not serial killer, but...
Well, there's no outside marking.
Yeah,
like that,
no
there's
outside
no forensics.
markings. Yeah, no forensics.
Right, so they're
yeah.
going more of a spiritual
Right.
place. Like, did they anger this ghost?
Right.
That would be really interesting.
She's only killing men. Perhaps maybe she came in contact with them in real life because they made it sound like she hadn't passed on that long ago.
Oh, it's not an old oral tradition?
No.
Huh.
This particular ghost, they do have traditions
Right, of
with
course.
that. But with this particular ghost, no, it's not a long-standing tradition. This was just something that they think is going on, that this person used to live in the town and they're dead now, and now they're killing men.
So hopefully she's not recruiting all of them to be murderer ghosts.
Right.
Because this is just getting larger and larger.
I've just never seen that negativity of a ghost, or that negative of a ghost, so I'm like...
You're like,
I don't-
debunk.
Yeah, I was like, I don't believe that ghosts would kill people.
I don't either at this point in time. And that's where I want to be. Because
Yeah.
the other way sounds too scary.
Yeah, I just don't. But it is, I wanted to share with everybody though, so you guys could... What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Do you think we can live in mushrooms, and do you think this ghost is killing people?
Ooh, if it happened on the moon, that would be really creepy.
That would be creepsville.
Now we just wrote a new sci-fi story. Well,
Ghosts
yeah.
on the moon.
Ghosts on the moon and the shrooms. So should we go on to our main topic for today?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So today we're talking about sun gods, and last week we discussed all of those lovely moon goddesses. So this week we're delving into their counterparts, the sun god. And the sun itself is kind of a symbol of energy and the journey of life, strength, and growth. And what better way to grow than to fill our lives with the knowledge of the gods? So that's kind of what we're doing today. And I'm really excited to talk about it.
Hear, hear.
And so I kind of wanted to kick us off, if you don't mind, by talking kind of a little bit about worshiping the gods in general.
Yeah, I'd love it.
So not just for sun gods, but all gods, really. So I kind of was digging into some of the lore, where it came from, where and when did we actually start as pagan people worshiping a god, or gods, many gods, really.
Hasn't it been since always?
No, actually.
Okay.
So prior to what we call year 1 AD, most countries and religions believed in many gods. Okay, so you're right. We have been worshiping many gods forever. But when we started worshiping only one god, those religions who came along who said we only have one god, that didn't start until 1 AD. So prior to that, everybody believed in multiple gods.
Right.
So that would mean in Jesus's time, maybe.
Right.
They even believed in multiple gods.
That's what I was under the assumption of, and it kind of just started wiping things out.
Right. So it was believed kind of in the old times, especially in pagan times, that these gods could really do a lot for you. They can do a lot for your farm. They can bring peace and confidence to you. You have somebody that you can trust and who's on your side. I think when I started writing these notes, I was in a mindset where I was just really upset about religion. So I was mad and thinking about, why do they condemn pagans? Why are pagans always condemned? And so my notes kind of go in that direction of, oh yeah, and I'm like, wait, I want to be positive here, you guys. I don't want to be talking about bashing things. So basically what I'm going to say is that there are so many beliefs back in the pagan days that the gods came from the sky to come here to create us and to teach us. And they had all these supernatural powers. And because of that, we began to worship them in the means of ceremonies and prayer. And we also kind of looked up to them, and we wanted to be like them, and we wanted to not fear them, but be like them, and they wanted to teach us everything that they knew. So those powers of magic and all of that has been handed down from the gods. So our magic comes from the gods, in my opinion.
Kind of makes me think of like the legends of like Valhalla. Like it's a place where the gods live, and also where you can aspire to die and ascend to, in a sense.
Right.
Like you can kind of, like gods maybe back in the day were more commingling with humans. I don't know. Like it was more attainable.
Yeah. Every story in mythology and even other stories, even in different religious stories, they're just frolicking amongst the people because they can travel back and forth from here and space and live interchangeably without weird space helmets and without all of that. They look a lot like man. They just transform themselves from this etheric god into human form and then back again.
I wonder if it's just like a form of maybe saying you can enlighten yourself to be like a god.
Maybe.
You know?
Maybe.
There's so many places, of course, ancient religion stems from, but...
Right. So, so basically, I guess I want to say that when you're worshiping the gods, just kind of thank them. Spend time thanking them and spend time, like, telling them how they can help you in your life and showing them goodness by leaving them offerings and things like that. So every time we do spells, we do leave them offerings, but maybe put a little bit more thought into it. Sometimes I know for me, like I'm rushing sometimes when I'm doing a spell, and I always forget to, put my intentions even in the offering.
Yeah, I come from a place of like trying to find the balance between full out big rituals where everything's well thought out and then just little things. Like even I've read and heard that like an offering could be just lighting an incense.
Right.
So it can be super simple.
Yeah. Doesn't have to cost a ton of money. Use what you have around the house. I think that we say that a lot, actually. We're like, we're broke witches, so
I know.
It's like we gotta use what we got.
Yeah, so I don't always have to go out and buy wine or buy this, because that's not something I have really on hand at the moment. My home is like, alcohol ready to go. So that's kind of what I think of when I think of offerings, is like food or wine or libations, but it can just be some incense smoke.
Right. So. Or tea or anything, or just water. Especially when you're calling on those feminine gods.
Yeah.
We love water.
Yeah, for sure. And for me too, like just how you're talking about get to know the gods and connect with the gods, like to me that just happens in nature. That's one of the most humbling places you could be as a human, when you're standing by the ocean and just looking at its like beautiful, majestic nature, and it's just something bigger than you. It wraps around the entire planet and connects us all, and looking at trees, the sky, stars, birds, like all of that is kind of where I feel like you can see messages from gods or feel connected to gods.
Right.
So I could see why people, ancient civilizations, would worship the sun, the moon, the stars, all of that.
Yeah, of course. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. All right, so we had some sun gods to talk about. So tell me who you have.
Oh man, I feel like a little unprepared today on my pronunciations.
That's fine.
Just like last time.
Same with me. So.
Just like last time, I'm like, ooh. So I'm kind of trying to do with all the gods I talked about last episode, try to talk about their counterparts. So going back for China to talk about the sun god, and the name I believe is pronounced Tai Yang Gong, and this is the grandfather's son. You could also call him Star Lord of the Solar Palace, which is just a great title.
That is awesome.
Or Lord of the Sun. And there's this folklore tale that connects to the moon goddess tale that I told last time. I really didn't want to go too deep into it because it seems like there's so many variations, and we're not getting into a big grand story. So the bullet points really of this tale would be that at one point in time there was this belief that there were actually 10 suns in the sky, and they looked at them all as like a different person, but they were all brothers. So they actually had like human identities in a sense, or like they were deities. And the deal was that the suns were supposed to come out one at a time, and this was commanded by the Jade Emperor. But the brothers were really playful and silly, and so they liked to come all around the same time and not really listen to the rules. And so they were all shining down on Earth. It was way too hot for anything to grow, and just really melting the people. It was freaking hot, 10 suns.
like Mars.
Is there 10 suns on Mars?
No, but I mean, it's hot there.
Oh.
It's like worse than a desert.
Yeah, exactly. So then Chang'e's husband, who I talked about last time as the moon goddess, I don't know how I could pronounce this. I guess it's Hui Yi. That's probably way off, but that was her husband, and he shot 9 out of 10 of these suns down. So he was like, you know what, you guys are going to listen? We're going to go down to 1 sun. And so it's believed that 1 sun that we have today is the remainder of all these brothers. And so that's why he's kind of looked at as a grandfather, I guess, now.
Gotcha.
And her husband, Hu Yi, is still honored to this day, and in some stories he is seen as the sun. So I don't really know how he went from the archer to the sun. I couldn't really find the connections to that story, but his identity kind of got wrapped up into the sun, and so they kind of honor him as well. And in some mythologies, he is believed to be the same person, like I said. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, it's not an in-depth tale, but I guess you get the general folklore bits.
Yeah, still really interesting.
So in China, they have a lot of altars to this day, a lot of temples to this day, a lot of things. Like, I think it's over thousands and thousands of places where they're still worshiping spirits, lesser deities, larger deities. Like, it is a country that's active in this kind of worship, and I just think that's so beautiful.
That is, and
Yeah.
they don't have to fear that.
Right.
We always hear these horrible stories about China and the Asian countries, you know. Here in America, we hear bad stories about them.
Right, that they're just kind of being controlled or manipulated.
Yeah, but obviously they're not if they get to worship all these gods.
I don't know really where everything lies, you know. I don't keep up on foreign affairs, to be honest, but I would love to be able to travel to other countries and see their altars. Like, it just sounds like a really magical experience. Being an American, not having that at all.
I was thinking, I bet they have festivals for them too, you know, where they have parades and...
Definitely, because Chang'e, the moon goddess, they had that, it's like the winter or autumn equinox that they celebrate her. So they definitely are down on the festivals and celebrating deities like the sun and the moon.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I traveled back to Hawaii to find, I don't know if it was Kane or Kane. I didn't look that part up, but I think it's Kane. Or he could also be known as Ku. And they considered him to be the god of creation, kind of like Ra, how he was that in Egypt. And Kane lived in Po, which is what we would call, or what they call, the endless black chaos. So meaning the universe, kind of like that ooze that Ra lived in, was out there in that beautiful space.
That's what they call the universe. They call it Po.
Po.
That's so cute. That's my cat's name.
It's so
He's all
adorable.
black.
I forgot about that.
Yay! He's the universe, the endless chaos.
So who knew? Who knew you when you named Po?
Yeah.
So Kane freed himself of Po. At the same time, Lono, the moon, and then Ku, the god of war, also freed themselves from Po. And then Kane created this great light so you couldn't just see Po, you could also see this beautiful sun. And he created it out of himself. And Lono, that moon goddess, brought sound to the universe, and Ku brought substance. So that meant something more than just this black ooze. So Ku brought like the planets.
That's cool.
Yeah. And between them, they created all of these lesser gods. And then together, the 3 gods also created the Menehune, which were the messengers or the angels. And they also created the world to be kind of a footstool or a resting place for the gods so that they could come back and forth here. So they created this earth just so the gods could come rest here, like a vacation spot.
What? We're the vacation spot?
Yeah.
Wow. I guess when you live in Hawaii, it's easy to look at Earth as a vacation spot.
For sure. I've never been. Have you been?
No, and it's on the list.
Yeah, on the list for sure.
Yeah.
So then after that, they gathered red clay from the 4 corners of the earth, and they mixed the clay with their spit and molded it into the shape of man.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then Kane took a special magical white clay and formed it into a head. And the 3 gods took deep breath and exhaled, saying aloha into the statue. And this was the creation of man.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And the gods made him look just like Kane looked.
Mm-hmm. Do they talk about the creation of woman? Or were you able to find
no, I didn't look that deep. I'm so sorry. I was
That's
just
okay.
looking at this god. So
I was wondering if they also just made women a separate thing, or is it kind of like the Christian thing where it's like, we took the rib and that's woman?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They just said that they made them all out of clay. So I don't know. I feel like that also the woman was made out of clay. That's what I would think.
Probably. Yeah, it's kind of the same as that African deities I was looking into.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big myth of just that's how you create things, is by clay molding life.
Right. And so because Kane's life, he kind of looks down on us now from living on the sun. That's where he lives and stays for the rest of eternity.
Mm-hmm. Does he come down and visit?
I don't know. I don't know if he still comes to visit. They
Yeah.
don't talk about that. It's really hard with these gods. Like, unless you are immersed in the culture, I don't know if we can get a true understanding of how special they are.
Exactly, because we don't worship them or have this oral tradition being passed down to us, and I had a hard time finding information about these gods. And I kept telling that to you too. I was like, is it Google? Is it just not giving us the information, or are people just not uploading it?
Right.
So, yeah. The god that I went over, if you're ready to move on,
Sure, yeah.
is Sol from Rome. Sun god, as well as the patron of soldiers. And it's actually one of the most ancient gods of Roman mythology. And he's seen depicted wearing a crown with sunbeams kind of coming out, and they had him on coins. And it kind of looked like, to me, kind of like the Statue of Liberty's little, I don't know what you would call that, crown?
Yeah, I think it's a crown.
Yeah. And so it dates back on those little coins. You can see that exact image of the beaming, like, Statue of Liberty thing going on. And during the later periods of Roman history, sun worship gained an importance and ultimately led to what has been called as solar monotheism. And there were two names that were associated with the sun god at different times, but they're essentially the same god, is what I was able to find out. So there's a period in Rome in the beginning where they called Sol Indigus, and then at some point in time he was called Sol Invictus. And I think it was just depending on whoever the ruler was. And they had a daughter, or not they, but he had a daughter named Circe, who was the goddess of magic. And there's several festivals and games that were held to dedicate to Sol, the sun god, and that was just to give him honor and to ensure that you'd have a good harvest. So it's always a big thing with pagans, I feel like, and solar deities, that they're going to help you get, like, crops and all that.
Right.
And there's another thing, too, that I kept seeing up looking into him, that Sol Invictus was celebrated on December 25th, the winter solstice, which we talked about being, like, isn't it the longest night, shortest day?
The winter?
Yeah, the winter
Yes.
solstice.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of looked at as a rebirth of the sun in many ancient cultures, and that was really the main one that ended up getting adopted into Christianity, and, like, that was such a big celebration that they really wanted to... The Christians kind of just adopted that holiday, and, you know, the Son of God, they worship the sun, so it always kind of connects. But that's really all I could find out about Sol. Like, I don't have a lot about his mythology or his folklore, but it does seem like he was heavily worshipped at that time, and a big deal.
I was trying to see if there was something with Indigus and Invictus. What was the difference between them?
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, like, what does it mean? Because I'm not the brightest sometimes when it comes to this stuff. So, Indigus means hero elevated to God after death as patron deity of a country. And I'm not finding Invictus for some reason. Like, Invictus comes up as a poem.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm sure it's a word if they're using it in a poem. Oh, it means invincible.
Ah.
In Latin.
That
which
makes
is
sense.
weird, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So a hero ascended to a god-type role maybe was his folklore, and then eventually he just kind of got even more immortalized as invincible. Definitely.
Nice. Yeah, some of these stories are really hard to come by, you guys. because the next one what I'm talking about is Inti, the Incan mythology. And he too was not just a sun god, but also the creator god. Oh, wait. I'm so sorry. In Incan mythology, Inti is the sun god, and his name means the son of the sun.
The son of the sun?
Yeah. So meaning the sun, S-O-N, of the sun, S-U-N.
That's confusing.
Son of a sun. Meaning that the sun was in the sky as a planet, and he came from that planet. So maybe he lived there. Mm-hmm. So imagine living on the sun, you guys.
Yeah, not comfy.
Not comfy at all. And it was said that he married his sister, Mama Kuya, who we talked about last time. And the legend is that he worked with Earth to kind of control all of the plants, the agriculture, warmth, and food on the planet, so things can grow and prosper. Mm-hmm. And so he's the one who helps bring the sun, and then he ushers his wife over the moon to come and show herself at night, and then he works with their weather god to bring rain. So he's kind of like almost the ruler, the leader of them. So they believe in their culture that because of him, we have crops and livestock. And when it gets too warm, he just plunges himself into the ocean at night and rises again the next day.
That's cute. I never thought about him going into the ocean.
Right. But from their perspective.
Right. He's going down that horizon line. Mm-hmm. That's cute.
Yeah.
He's like, it's too hot. Can you imagine?
So there's a lot of statues in their society. Like, they're still finding these statues from Incan times. And basically they... it's just the form of a face that kind of looks like a golden disc protruding from his head, or kind of like rays of light. And he usually has vampire fangs.
What?
Yeah, so I'm not sure what that was all about.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Vampire son.
And so he traveled back and forth. And so I found out also that his children that he had with Mama Kuya, they lived on Earth full time. So he trained them up in space and then sent them to Earth full time. So his children could be wise enough to teach the humans of Earth to live a proper life.
So aliens. That's what I'm going to take away.
Yeah. And so in order to help them get around the Earth, he gave them dowsing rods so that they can find their way across the Earth to locate fertile land, to create civilizations. And basically they created the Incan civilization.
I didn't know the Incans used dowsing rods.
I didn't either. So when I heard that, I was like, cannot wait to tell Sharon.
Yeah.
Because you love dowsing rods,
I know.
too.
I'm trying to, really test them and learn how to do different things. Like, I know I mentioned to you, I wanted you to plant something in a park, like a rock or a stone, and then I'd have to try to see if I could locate it.
Right.
Just to test my abilities. That's cool.
So cool, right?
Yeah, the Incans are definitely one of those, the Incans and I'd say the Aztecs, they're such spiritual communities, and there was a lot going on there with sacred knowledge and astrology and really loving the planets.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun stuff there.
So amazing. Their story was by far one of my favorites.
I can see why.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of rich stories going on there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about Lisa, the West African sun god, and god of the Fawn people of West Africa. He's one and the same. And the name Lisa among the Fawn people appears to be derived from the nearby Yoruba people, who use the word Orisha to refer to lesser deities.
Oh.
And Lisa corresponds to the sun and is associated with day, heat, work, power, war, and strength. So a lot of common themes with the sun here. And he's regarded by African people as fierce and harsh, and was sent to make tools and clear the forests so that men could farm and live a civilized life. And his sister was the moon goddess Mawu, who we talked about last time. They were twins, but also lovers, and together they created the universe with the help of the cosmic serpent Da. And Mawu and Lisa are described as inseparable, and they have this big unity, which is basically the basis of the universe, and their unity represents the order of the universe and duality. And Lisa is said to dwell in the east and Mawu in the west, And when there's an eclipse of the sun or the moon, the fawn people think that Mawu and Lisa are making love.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
That's great. What a great story.
Fun times.
Mm-hmm. So they too believe that there were 3 people who created the earth.
Yeah, it seems like they had help with that serpent.
Mm-hmm. So now we've got the Egyptians, the Hawaiians, the African culture, all believing in the same theory.
Yeah, it's kind of refreshing because I was in such a society of, I guess, Christianity growing up, and is it monotheism where it's just one God?
Yeah.
So that was just something that was so ingrained in me that it's refreshing to look outside of that perspective.
Yeah, very amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that so much. I wanted to talk about Surya from Indonesia. And so when I was looking up Surya, he kind of comes up as both male and female. So you can see them as a hermaphrodite. And so typically shown with 4 arms and 3 eyes. So meaning 2 on the side, 1 in the center of the forehead, riding in a chariot with 7 horses. And in their hands, they're holding water lilies. That was to symbolize like life. Mm-hmm. And then it encourages people with the 3rd hand, and with the 4th hand is blessing people. And so Surya is capable of healing and is represented in their culture like in everyday life. And they also use Surya to help represent the solar plexus and clear that chakra, so that yellow section. And so I also found that in Vedic astrology, they were known as Leo.
There's something called Vedic astrology?
Yes, I just learned that, so I feel like that's got to be something I want to delve into a little bit.
Yeah, see what the different symbols are and different meanings. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And their astrology is interconnected with the chakra aura thing.
Right.
So it's all woven, and they use it as everyday life to breathe.
Write that on our list of to-dos.
Right, right. I found this really cute story about Surya. So Surya married Sanjana, which she was just a human here on Earth. And Sanjana, when she was near Surya, could not bear the intense light and heat that Surya gave off. And so she cloned herself and left the clone with her husband while she fled to her father so she could get a break from his heat.
That's hilarious.
Right? So Surya ended up sleeping with the clone and having children with the clone. And Sanjana came back to usher Sanjana into the closet, but realized that the clone had children with her husband, and so she became furious and destroyed the clone.
Yeah, what was she thinking? She was going to put this clone away in the closet?
Right. And so then Sanjana, feeling like this clone can't have children with my husband, so she then also had children with her husband. And she continued to live with her husband again, and this time she kept feeling that heat and that light of Surya, and she just felt it was intolerable. So, and she became exhausted, and she couldn't do her domestic duties because every time she got near him, she got burned and filled with radiation.
This is like a sad housewife.
Right? And so finally, Sanjana's father decided to help her and trimmed Surya's body down, reducing his brightness by 1/8. And then Sanjana and him could live easily as husband and wife. There was another story where she made herself into a horse and ran off, but I couldn't remember. Like, she was like, I can't be near him, he's just too hot. And so she does magic and transforms into a horse, runs off into the forest, and he's like, where's my wife?
I like this.
And then so he transforms into a horse as well to chase after her because he wants his wife back. And when he finds her, they end up having horse sex and she gets pregnant, and they turn back into humans, and she has the baby as a human.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know which story to tell. Both.
Yeah.
So here they are.
Horse sex. Interesting.
So either he was sleeping with a clone or his horse wife.
The clone is funny to me that she's like so annoyed with her husband or whatever that she just has to get away, but she can't just say, hey, I need a break. She's like, he'll never let me go.
Right.
I better either run away as a horse and or make a clone.
Right. It's
Poor
so
thing.
funny.
Poor thing.
Oh.
So I'm going to talk about sun magic a little bit, something I feel like I could do a little bit more of. So the sun, you can use it to charge and cleanse your crystals and your magical tools, which everyone kind of talks about more with the moon.
Yeah.
But you can do that exactly the same thing with your sun.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I did do that with like stuff when I get from Goodwill, like altar tools. I'll just leave it in the windowsill for maybe a couple days. That way it gets sun and moon.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And you can even use the sun to empower yourself. The sun has strong attraction energy. And I was talking about last episode, there's the ritual of drawing down the moon, which is just kind of like an empowering feminine ritual. You can do the exact same thing with the sun and get that masculine energy, that strength, that brightness.
I need some sun magic in my life.
I've never drawn down the sun.
Me either.
Never. So I thought that was really cool. And you can even make sun water, just like you make moon water.
Oh, we used to make sun tea.
Sun tea?
Yeah, where my mom would take these big glass jars, like mason jars that were ginormous, and she would fill it with tea bags and hot water, or just regular water, just tap water, and then she'd put it outside at the beginning of the morning, and then by the end of the night we'd have tea in a jar.
And it'd be warm, I'm assuming?
It would be really warm.
So this was something that you had to do in the summer?
In the summertime, and then she'd put it in the fridge and let it cool off. Well, she'd cool it down to room temperature, then put it in the fridge. And then we'd have iced tea out of it.
Oh, that's really, really cute. Mm-hmm. So you did have like sun water and sun-infused tea. Mm-hmm. We should do that again.
For sure.
And another thing that's new information to me is you can use the phases of the sun in your magic. So we know how we talk about phases of the moon.
Yeah.
So obviously the moon changes phases because it's changing shape and things like that throughout an entire month. But the phases of the sun would take course throughout one day. And it just depends on where the sun's at during the day. So from going to sunrise to sunset, high noon, all those different phases.
Right, and what position it's in.
Yes.
What direction it's facing.
So I'm also kind of bad at planning my magic that far in advance.
Right.
To even correspond with the moon. I can't imagine corresponding with the sun, but I really like the idea of it.
Right.
Like one day I'll be that prepared.
Yes.
So sunrise magic, I found out, it's about new beginnings, changes, health, employment, renewal, resurrection, and finding the right direction. And it's also very cleansing. And the morning sun is when the sun is growing even more in strength. So it's going to bring a magical power of growth, positive energy, resolutions, courage, harmony, happiness, strength, and building new projects and plans, and just all around like prosperity and expansion of your ideas. And then the sun at high noon, this is when it's going to be reaching the peak at sky around midday. And this is good magic for your work, for health, physical energy, wisdom, and knowledge. And this is a good time apparently to charge your crystals that need charging. I don't know why, particularly that time of day. But a note to keep out for is that some crystals do fade in the sun. So you kind of want to be careful before you start getting your crystals faded or damaged.
I'm just imagining how amazing a quartz crystal would be, just a clear quartz. Mm-hmm. How it would soak up that sun so easily.
Yeah, and then just radiate that warmth and energy.
That's awesome.
Around the afternoon is when the sun's going to be heading back down, so the energy would be good for communication, clarity, travel, exploring, and apparently anything professional.
Okay.
Around sunset, you would do magic for removing depression, stress, confusion, letting go, releasing, or finding out the truth of a situation. Nice. So that's a really cool phase.
I like that.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I really get to enjoy the sun too much throughout the day because that's usually when I'll be working and things like that.
Right.
But there was a time in my life where I remember during the summers just being able to watch the sunset at the beach and just really enjoying that nature in that moment. And I want to have an opportunity to do sunset magic.
Yeah, for sure. I've been wanting us to go to the Oregon coast. Wrong time of year for it for us right now, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, and I'm always talking about moon magic at the
Yeah.
coast. So now my head will be in a new place where I can do moon and sun magic.
Exactly.
So
Love it.
that made me really happy, just learning about a new perspective to look at the sun.
Yeah.
And if you want to work with the sun in your altar, I would encourage using just colors that resonate with you with the sun. So like gold, orange, yellow, and even the same color of like those type of flowers, like maybe some yellow flowers on your altar. And different symbols that you could use on your altar would be, of course, a sun or a circle, flames and fire, or a phoenix. You could even bring in horns to represent the sun or the sun god, and antlers. And then something as far as an ingredient that would represent the sun is honey.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did learn while doing Enochian magic that in the angel sigils that they use, the sun is represented with a circle and a dot in the center.
Mm-hmm. I have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be another symbol.
Mm-hmm.
You could even put that, maybe carve it on your sun candle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I try to typically have a sun and a moon candle going on, and a male side and a female side
I
when
like
I'm
that.
doing magic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nice.
I like to go silver and gold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How cute.
Yay for sun gods.
Silver and gold. It reminds me of Rudolph. Silver and gold.
Yeah, that old school song.
Yeah.
Why? That's a weird saying, to compare your friends to silver and gold.
Right.
So I guess your gold friends are better than your silver friends?
I suppose. Silver's
Yeah.
what? Old? Gold is young and rich.
Yeah, I
Who
don't
knows?
know. I don't know.
I like the idea of feminine, masculine.
Definitely. The yin, the yang.
Mhm.
It's kind of all of that kind of energy and archetypes.
Right. It's kind of like this tapestry we have right here.
The sun and the
Sun and the
moon.
moon.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of that stuff kind of around my house that I didn't
You
even
do.
realize. Yeah.
Yeah. You do have a lot of that. For not even meaningfully curating it, you have it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did we ask our question with the orb?
We haven't, so we still
Okay.
have we could ask this orb a question today to see what
Okay.
it says. What do we want to ask
What
it?
should it be? I know you asked one really prior to us starting.
Yeah, before we started recording, I did shake it to see if there were any ghosts with us, and it said, "Do not doubt it" or something.
Or
like
without
that.
a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Or
no doubt.
about it.
No doubt about it. Yeah, because at first I thought it
was.
said no, and I was like, no. So this is like our magic 8-ball orb. What can
So-
we ask it today?
Let's ask it. Let me think about this for a second. Oh, I want to ask it questions about that ghost that's been in here. I don't know if you guys have heard in the episodes, but we have been catching EVPs, and it's somebody who really loves the gods.
Yes, because when we talk about gods and goddesses, they tend to pipe up and say something. We've heard it say Snow King,
Oak King.
Oak King,
Yeah.
something about something responding into me talking about a queen
Right.
and magic.
Mm-hmm.
There was one in the Hellier episode that I just thought was Wendy's voice because it was so human and crystal clear. I was talking about how we should talk about the cave magic in Hellier, and I just heard like a yes.
Yeah, but that wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
No.
And that was like 36 minutes in of Hellier episode if you're interested.
Yeah.
So when we're editing, I feel like there'll just be a creepy whisper where I freak out and I just have to take off my headphones and be like, whoa, that wasn't us.
Right. And the sound, when we're editing, it sounds like, you're like, wait a second. I know that wasn't you, and I know that wasn't me. Who was that?
Yeah.
So, Orb, I want to know, is this person someone who follows Sharon?
Great. All freaked out now. So does this ghost follow me?
Yeah.
Shaking our orb, shaking our orb. I don't know what I want it to say. It's stuck in the middle, so I'm just kind of letting it be. Or will I let it be? Come on. Come on, little orb.
Maybe you shook it too much.
Positively.
So it follows you. So I should ask it the same question. Does this ghost follow me?
Ooh.
Okay. It says it keeps changing. So it said no.
Oh, what?
Yeah. It says no.
Okay.
So it follows you, not me.
Ask it if this ghost likes, should I say paganism or witchcraft?
Does this ghost like witchcraft?
Here we go.
Shaking the orb, and the orb says, no doubt about it.
Ooh. All right.
So if the orb doesn't lie.
Exactly. We're just putting all of our pennies with the orb now. Gonna
Yeah.
just trust it.
Or, go speak now.
Okay. So hopefully we got an EVP, but it's always been when we're not prepared for it to
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
I know your theory was that it gets our energy from when we laugh while we're recording, or when we're getting hyped. That's more when the voice will chime in.
Right. Because they're like, oh yeah, they're excited, I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. I'd like there to be a way where we could list some of these EVPs maybe on our WordPress account,
maybe
potentially.
Sure.
Or even have a list of where we think we hear them in a timestamp, because I don't know if you guys have heard them or if you just think it's background noises. Let us know if you hear EVPs, guys.
Right. And I could look at adding a separate tab and just having nothing but EVPs on the specific tab on our page.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
So then just as we come across them, we'll upload them.
Mm-hmm. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Because there's been some that are undeniable, and then some that are a little bit, to me, just too quiet, I can't hear any of it. But at the end of the day, it'd be fun to have a place to go to listen to them all and start comparing.
For sure.
Because in the beginning, it would be way less common, and now that we're recording together, it's been almost every episode for the last 3 or 4.
Yeah. I would say so. Maybe since right before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When we had a seance, essentially.
Right.
So maybe that was what sparked it.
Yeah.
So yay for ghosts.
Yeah. Amazing. Loving it. Well, I didn't have anything else, did you?
I think I'm all wrapped up today.
Okay.
Hope you enjoyed our companion piece about moon goddesses and moon gods, and enjoyed the pagan vibes.
You mean moon goddess, sun god?
Something like that.
Okay. Nice.
I don't know what I mean, but I hope you liked it. So thanks guys for listening, and don't forget, new episodes air every Wednesday, and until then you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and you can check out our blog, cousinscoven.home.blog, where you can find witchy words of wisdom, spells, and all of our archive podcast episodes from season 1. And send in any research ideas, questions, or fan mail into cousinscoven2@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys, and please like, subscribe, and share with all your witchy and weirdo friends.
And may you find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and joy in each other. Blessings to all.